So our favourite disgraced brand, Balenciaga, has finally crawled out of its rock after 1.5 years of the CP scandal and has announced some quite unsurprising, to be honest, fashion news. And that is their new house ambassador is Kim Kardashian. And today we're going to talk about it because I find it very strange and also quite telling that a portion of the world has either forgotten or forgiven Balenciaga for its strange and disturbing campaign with children. Just for those of you out there that aren't as familiar or perhaps need a bit of a recap, it all started in November 2022, where Balenciaga had shot and released a campaign involving children, advertising some of their accessories. It was like kitchenware, dog bowls and things like that. But what was the most disturbing part of it was not the fact that they used children in there, but the fact that these children were holding BDSM bears in very creepy settings. Not only that, there was actually a campaign image with a Balenciaga hourglass handbag, and in the background there were very intentionally placed papers which talk about a Supreme Court ruling in favor of basically CP. Hopefully you know where I'm going with this because, you know, YouTube guidelines. So obviously the internet reacted, and rightly so, because when it comes to CP, I think a lot of people, especially parents, drew the line at this campaign and how intentional and insidious it was to plant some of these disturbing items and documentation. At the time, Balenciaga was very much an it brand. They were always known to be embroiled in controversy after controversy, for good or for bad. But I think people saw this as a step too far when it involved children. And so there was basically like a global boycott that came with this spotlight that was shone on Demna and his creative team, and also valid questions being asked as to who in their right mind orchestrated and approved a campaign like this. But no one was really found accountable or really had any consequences after the fact. And obviously at the time, Kim Kardashian, who was a brand ambassador and was a big supporter of the brand, it took her, I believe, 4 or 5 days to respond with an official statement. She basically released a very milquetoast statement saying that she was reevaluating the relationship, but the fact that it took her 5 days I think is quite telling. And also, I guess now fast forwarding a year and a half later, she has now become the ambassador once again for the brand. So the whole response felt quite conceited from Kim and also from Balenciaga as the brand. And now fast forwarding to today, where Balenciaga is now seen to be emerging with new campaigns, new fashion shows, and star-studded audiences at their most recent show in LA. The news is therefore unsurprising that Kim is back once again, and I guess Balenciaga is trying to get back in the limelight once again, especially with the release of items that also elicit further controversy, like the towel skirt. With all of that context being said, I just wanted to share my thoughts around this particular PR move or just business move. And I suppose the reason why I want to share my thoughts around this particular topic, as I have done so in the past, is because it is very obvious to me in the luxury community, in the fashion community as a whole, that people will not touch this subject or be vocal on what to me is, and for most others, is a very black and white subject. And I think in today's kind of like fish brain attention span culture that, you know, it's very important to actually have a point of view and perspective and morals that you stand up for. And I think the first takeaway, therefore, with this particular news of Kim K accepting the ambassadorship once again and being super proud and brazen about, you know, wearing all of their items again, it just shows that with the Kardashians in particular, these morals are for sale. And I cannot believe that she, as a mother, is willing to stand idly by and say nothing at all once the campaign had obviously emerged, but also the fact that she is so ready and willing once she's seen the kind of emotions and everything die down, that she is going to then just think, oh, well, people have moved on, I'm just going to cash in my next check, assuming that, you know, people's attention spans are short and that she can get away with it because it's not a big issue anymore. I'm not surprised that the Kardashians have morals for sale. I don't know what the check is, but it was clearly big enough to do something that is as morally and ethically corrupt. And I think a lot of the internet have responded in kind around the lack of humanity and the distastefulness of this move to Kim, which is somewhat reassuring for the future of humanity, that we do have rational bones in our body. We live in the real world, people. Actions do have consequences, and there is a distinct right and wrong, especially as it pertains to criminality. But the fact that she must have had PR and, management sit down in a room to talk about whether this was worth the blowback or not, and they still decided this was going to be a profitable and beneficial move for Kim and her brand, is telling that they have no morals at all. You would think that Kim has enough money and enough clout to just say no, but given that, in the family, I think even Kylie Jenner accepted recently a check to market some Farmville type game. Clearly she doesn't play it. I mean, that should be telling it all, that either they need the money or that money motivates them. And clearly it's apparent in Kim's rise to fame, which we won't go into that rabbit hole, but clearly she just wants the clout, she wants the fame. And I guess for some people, all publicity is good publicity, which I think is a really terrible message to send, not just to other brands, but also to other individuals, that people do not need to have a backbone to stand for anything, depending on whose price is right. And that ultimately people no longer need to be held accountable for their actions. Why is it that Kim can go back to supporting a CP loving brand? Why is it that Demna is still creative director there? I think there is a double standard when it comes to cancel culture or holding people accountable that is not being addressed. And I'm by no means somebody who likes cancel culture, but I think with something like CP, there is a distinct need to cancel or no longer support brands or individuals who engage in that. And I just think it's kind of funny, ironic perhaps, that Kanye was cancelled for various reasons. And while I'm not going to comment on the validity of those, I just think that when it comes to Kim, there's a double standard around who gets cancelled or not. And it just feels like the accountability that everyone demanded over a year and a half ago has not actually materialized in terms of people getting what they deserve in terms of consequences. I think you're seeing that in wider culture, not to be too spicy, but with the Jepstein findings, people are really, really delaying the release of the actual lists. Individuals are being protected, evidence is being ignored. So I can't help but feel that this is quite telling of the way culture is just allowing certain individuals to go scot-free, despite the fact that people have responded clearly very viscerally against Balenciaga. Every time I walk past their stores or, in a department store like a Harrods or something, Balenciaga stands are always empty. I see online as well, for various other multi-brand retailers, their items are always on sale or in some sort of promotion or outlet. And they feel like they need to make a comeback, I suppose, because, they're a business at the end of the day. They're not a charity. They need to make money. But I think the way that they are still trying to go around the elephant in the room, and they're not rebranding themselves to be someone different who stays away from controversy. That's very much going back to their original roots in the recent past, at least. And that is, again, releasing stupid items like the towel skirt and whatnot. So it's not like they've rebranded in a genuine way. They've released further statements and, heads have rolled, metaphorically speaking, actually be worthy of forgiveness. And it's really sad, actually, that Balenciaga did not start as a joke brand. It was actually refined and elegant ladies fashion from Balenciaga himself, but it's since morphed to become a joke brand, a controversial brand, and ultimately one that has no real remorse or backbone in any of its values. And I think that is a terrible message to send to the next generation. It's a terrible message to send to other brands and other individuals who have this kind of proclivity. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today, just to see if I'm the only person who is thinking this way at the fact that the world is now deliberately or unintentionally ignorant and essentially co-signing on CP. And it just highlights to me the superficiality of people, especially online, because you can say one thing, but when it comes to putting your money where your mouth is, individuals like him and other celebrities that were at that showing have clearly gone the other way. And when it comes to good judges of character, it's worth paying very close attention to those individuals who were at that catwalk show, to the individuals that are still wearing that brand, regardless of if they are well-known individuals and celebrities or if they are just people on the street, I certainly pay attention and I am judging. And I have still seen, even though they're few and far between, people wearing Balenciaga sneakers or having a Balenciaga handbag. And I just think in today's day and age where information is so abundant, I don't think it's good enough to just say you're ignorant to the subject, especially if a brand represents you. You know, you buy certain items to be an extension of your character. I think people who are still holding on to these items and still trying to make it work, I don't see that there is any real viable excuse to still have an item from Balenciaga, least of all individuals like the Kardashian. You're basically selling your soul for money and fame. And I think these individuals as role models for the next 2 generations to come, I think has been quite a worrying realization. The fact that their biggest impact on especially women has been that you're not good enough the way that you are, the bimfication of women, the fact that they will do anything for money or anything for fame. I don't feel like they have contributed much to the society. It honestly just feels like a plague that won't go away. Every single news article is about them, and I don't know why they are so favoured in culture, probably because of the downfall of certain values in our culture. I say all of that to say that these individuals should not be looked at as role models. They just, to be honest, need to be ignored. Even acknowledging this topic at hand, I found a little bit problematic for me internally, because that's also giving them a platform. And I honestly think that, you know, love and hate are not opposite emotions. They are actually the same. They actually create a fire in your belly to feel a certain way, but the actual opposite of these polarizing emotions is indifference. And what these individuals need is just to be ignored. The brand just needs to be ignored. We continue to vote with our wallets. I see a lot of individuals are still not buying it, which is reassuring, but also paying attention to other individuals who support brands like this or do not have their money where their mouth is as it pertains to morals and ethics. And I find it's always the individuals that are talking up the loudest about sustainability, of ethical treatment. They're always the ones that, when it really comes down to it, will do absolutely nothing about these topics but just talk and virtue signal. But I think that says it all around these types of people, and that I will not associate with those individuals or brands that do that. For me, they are forever cancelled. I'm glad that I never bought anything from Balenciaga, but I know for others out there it's truly saddening that some of their favourite items are from them. But we all got to keep moving. We all got to stand for something, especially in today's polarizing world. To actually stand up for what you believe in is an act of heroism. Everything is superficial. Everything's for vanity, for the likes, for the approval of others. And I'm kind of over it. I think it's important to acknowledge this, especially in the luxury community, where it's very kind of, you know, airy-fairy. We all kind of aspirational. We all want to move on to the next item. But things like this, I think people need to have a hard line. So let me know your thoughts and feelings on this particular topic down in the comments below. Are you even surprised at this stage what Balenciaga or Kim will do for money and fame and relevance? But that all being said, I will leave this video right here. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.